city not too far from where I live, there's an old deserted theater. It's been empty for decades, and most people have forgotten about it. The building is boarded up and covered in graffiti, and at night, the wind whistles through the broken windows, making a sound like a mournful cry. I went to see it for myself recently. It was a sad sight. All that remained of the marquee out front were the faded remnants of the last movie they ever showed there, the deserted theater, and underneath the title, barely visible, the tagline, and the last laugh. What does it mean? Was the movie good or bad? Was it a comedy? Who knows? But as I stood there staring at the peeling paint, it got me thinking. Most towns have one of these buildings, a derelict cinema or a boarded up theater, a place where memories went to die. And in those four walls are stories that stretch back decades, tales of laughter and romance and suspense. Some of those stories still make me smile even today. For instance, do you remember when your date took you to the movies, and afterwards you walked out into the bright sunlight, hand in hand, and then she stopped and turned to you with a big smile and said, "That was the best movie ever"? Or how about when you snuck into the balcony and saw the most beautiful girl in the world sitting in the row behind you? As the opening credits rolled, you knew this was going to be a great night, but other memories aren't so pleasant. Maybe you recall the time you went with your parents and they fell asleep halfway through the film. Or maybe you can still hear the obnoxious voice of the guy to rows ahead of you loudly commenting on everything that happened on the screen. "Get him, Tiger," he would roar. "Yeah, get him, Tiger." When I was just a lad, I lived close to the Majestic Theater in downtown Toronto. It was my favorite place in the whole wide world. My friends and I would spend hours hanging around the corner, watching the crowds, daydreaming and hoping that we were James Dean or Marlon Brando. We thought we were so cool. In reality, we looked like a bunch of lost ducklings, but we felt invincible. Every Friday night, we'd save our pennies and dimes and quarters and pool our money together to go inside and watch whatever movie was playing. Sometimes it was a cowboy picture. Sometimes it was a monster movie. Sometimes it was a musical. But it didn't matter what was on the screen. As long as we were in that glorious air-conditioned space surrounded by total strangers, life was good. Back then, going to the movies was more than just a pastime. It was a ritual, a celebration. The ticket cost only 25 cents. And once we were inside, we could stay as long as we wanted. There were no such things as showtimes or assigned seats. When the movie ended, all you had to do was walk to the front door and tell the usher that you wanted another ticket. He'd tear it in half and you'd be on your way again. We'd do that over and over and over again, watching movie after movie until late into the night. We never got tired of it. Back then, the biggest decision you had to make was whether you wanted popcorn or candy. And the choices were simple. You either went for the milk carton or the giant box of Junior Mints. Those days are gone now. Multiplexes have replaced single-screen theaters. And instead of 1 or 2 showings a day, there are now dozens of showtimes to choose from. If you want to see the latest blockbuster, you have to plan your life around it. And instead of milk cartons and Junior Mints, we now have to eat overpriced nachos and sip on Diet Coke. Some people say that going to the movies isn't what it used to be. And I agree. It's better. The screens are bigger. The sound system is improved. The seats are more comfortable. The concessions are open 24/7. But there's something missing. That old magic has been replaced by something cold and soulless. You know, back in the day, it wasn't unusual for people to dress up before going to the movies. Men would wear suits and hats, and women would put on dresses and high heels. It was an event. Going to the movies was a chance to get all dressed up and feel special. People actually made an effort to look nice. Then something happened. Suddenly, everyone started wearing jeans and t-shirts and sneakers. No one wanted to be bothered dressing up anymore. They wanted to be casual, comfortable. But there was a downside to that. Once people started looking sloppy, the theaters followed suit and adopted a casual dress code of their own. Employees no longer wore tuxedos or cocktail dresses. Instead, they wore jeans and t-shirts. All of a sudden, the ushers began to look like the audience. I was working at the local multiplex one summer when I was in college. I hated it. I wanted to quit immediately. Here I was, dressed in a family uniform, collecting trash and selling popcorn. It seemed beneath me. But my boss wouldn't let me quit. "You signed a contract," she said. "You have to work it out." So I stayed and I realized something. I was part of the problem. I was one of the reasons why going to the movies wasn't what it used to be. I was helping to kill the very thing that I loved. At the end of the summer, I quit. I told my boss I was going back to school. Actually, I was just too embarrassed to keep working there. Looking back, I'm glad that I quit. I never worked at a multiplex again. And the truth is, I rarely go to the movies. I don't like crowded places or overpriced snacks, and I hate sitting still for more than an hour. Plus, I have a secret weapon. I can watch movies at home for free. And let's face it, who doesn't love a home-cooked meal while watching a first-run feature? Not me. Still, sometimes I miss going to the movies. Sometimes I wish I could buy a ticket and watch a movie on the big screen without having to worry about parking or eating or missing the beginning because I stopped for coffee. But I'm not alone. There are others who share my sentiment. It's strange, but in recent years, there's been a movement to bring back the old single-screen neighborhood theater. These independent cinemas show first-run features alongside classic films and documentaries. They sell beer and wine along with their popcorn. They often host special events. And most importantly, they celebrate the movie-going experience. Going to one of these places is like stepping back in time. Sure, the quality of the movies might not always be the greatest, but the atmosphere is perfect. A local theater near where I live shows second-run movies for $2 a ticket. On Mondays, they have discount days for seniors and students. On Tuesdays, it's ladies' night. Wednesdays are reserved for movie lovers. Thursdays are for families. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are for everyone. The place is always packed. There's something magical about going to a place like this. Sure, the seats aren't as comfortable as the ones at the multiplex. And yes, the popcorn costs twice as much. But who cares? This is a community theater, a gathering place. Everyone is here for the same reason. They want to celebrate the movies. When I left the deserted theater standing in the rain, I realized something. Perhaps the movie hadn't been a comedy. Perhaps it was a drama. Perhaps the tagline wasn't a joke. Perhaps it was a statement. The deserted theater and the last laugh. Maybe the theater was deserted because the people had laughed themselves to death, laughed until their sides split and their hearts gave out. Maybe the audience didn't leave. Maybe the theater came to them, reaching out from beyond the grave, pulling them into its cold embrace and whispering in their ear, "Don't forget, come back for the midnight showing. The show never ends. It goes on forever. Join us and you will. Laugh and laugh and laugh until you die."